tonight, we have a very special guest with us tonight. We have Jane Warren Campbell. She is a CC member, and she has lived most of her life in Atlantic Canada in her native province of Nova Scotia. She has now made her way to the Pacific Coast, living on Vancouver Island in BC. Jane's creativity has shown itself in many ways in her business. She is the creator of the freedom release technique, light language, symbols of light, and help me out here, is it Rashana Sound Essences. She has developed and facilitated a variety of personal growth workshops as well. Earlier in her journey, she's trained as a Reiki master, certified hypnotherapist, sound healer, and a variety of other therapies. She's studied human services, community services, family services, and has a diploma in counseling. She has been channeling the higher beings of light for over 20 years and was asked by the Council of Nine in 2012 to be their scribe, which led to her book, The Spiritual Seeker's Guide to Happiness. During that time, she also found herself writing Conversations with the Tree after another invitation to gather wisdom from a stately hemlock tree. 1 second, and just throwing those links into the chat there as well. Jane has appeared on the national Canadian television show The Dragon's Den and offers many free guided meditations and channelings on her YouTube channel. Jane is living her sole purpose, touching people around the globe with her work. Many are moved by the clarity of what she offers and the energy of love that comes through her. Jane, welcome, welcome, welcome to our Canada national meeting. Thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you for the invitation to be here. It's awesome to be here and to be a part of this community. I do. So thanks so much, Philip.
Excellent.
And just for clarity, my name has been Rashana, and I'm going back to my birth name of Jane Warren Campbell. So later this month, I'll officially be back to my birth name. So that's why you see both names there, but now I go by Jane.
Excellent. Thank you for clarifying that. I'm just throwing in some of your other links here to your website, YouTube, and the Freedom Release Technique website. There you are. So everyone can check that out. Jane, we've had a wonderful couple weeks where we've been able to have some conversations and talk about some of these wonderful things. The current theme, though, is healing, and we deal in so many different kinds of healing. The healing journey can definitely be a long and difficult process for all of us. Will you share a bit of your journey and how that has impacted your life and has reshaped who you are and what you're about?
Thanks. Yeah. It was interesting in the year 2012, which was a very pivotal year for all of us. That year, my birthday is January 6th. So not only do we have a new calendar year, but very soon after I have a new birth year. And that year, the Chinese New Year was January 23rd. And I decided, instead of having a New Year's resolution, to dedicate the year to healing. I was not happy with my life, and I knew that the only way it was going to change was for me to look at all the wounds of the past and really begin to change that. And I was working at a job that I really didn't like and praying every day to get out of there. And on January 23rd, the Chinese New Year, I showed up to work at 8:30 and I was gone at 9 o'clock. I was released from my job. And I immediately recognized that it was a blessing in disguise. And it started a whole new journey for me. 6 weeks after that, the condo that I was renting, I learned was being sold and I had to move. And at that point, I freaked out for about 2 hours and said, what the heck is going on? But in the meantime, I had developed this mantra to help me get through all of this. I just kept telling myself, all change leads to something better. All change leads to something better. And I think that really helped me maintain a positive mindset. And so when I learned that I had to move on top of everything else, I just went back to that mantra and I thought, okay, I'm not tied to a job. I'm not tied to a lease. I can be wherever I want to be. And I ended up moving to a little town that was about an hour and away from where I was living at the time, that I always loved. I'd gone to university there years ago, years previous. And things really started to shift and change for me in that process. And before all of this happened, in February, I was at a health fair, a health show, and I decided to offer channeling at that show. And at that point, I wasn't really that public about my channeling. So this was a big step for me. And I was also offering toning and getting a lot of attention because I was toning for people as well. And at one point, this person who came up, who had taken Reiki from me many years ago, and he was now doing a technique called Theta Healing. And he was very happy to practice on me. And I gave him lots of opportunity to practice. So that year, almost 3 times a week, I was doing healing work and looking at the deep wounds within, looking at all my fears that were coming up as I was processing through this year. And so I did a lot of deep healing in that time. And then that's when the channeling really developed, and I was approached to write the book, The Spiritual Seeker's Guide to Happiness, and then Conversations with the Tree. So it was a pivotal year. And I realized at one point, I was thinking, well, I need to get another job somewhere else. And I quickly realized that would just be going back to the paradigm that I had just asked to be taken out of. So I really just trusted that somehow things would open up for me and I would be able to make it work.
Amazing. A couple things definitely stood out there. Those blessings in disguise. I think all of us have those happen. Probably more frequent than maybe we see, and so important is it to, like you said, trust that process, allow that process to occur. And that is scary. That's very, very scary when you start stepping into your authenticity and into your truth, and to start walking that path. Like you said, some of the old ways that have served you no longer do. And whether that is a job, whether that is relationship, whatever that may look like, so hard to see the bend or what's around the bend when we are going down the river like that. Can you dive in a little deeper into the channeling and maybe even the toning, and maybe talk about what that is, what that really means for maybe some people that those are some new concepts for them?
Right. Yeah. Well, before this time, in the year 2000, I my marriage had ended not long before that, and I was going back to school because I stayed at home with my kids. And so my former job as a secretary, I just no longer could get any work with that. And so I went back to school. So I was a single mom and a student. And I was online one day and I saw this website, and he was doing ascended master readings. And I thought, I have to have one of these readings. I just felt so compelled and pushed the button. And then the next day I thought, are you crazy? Because it was $125 for this reading back in the year 2000. And I didn't have any income really. But like a miracle, 3 days later, and this was back when it showed up as a cassette tape in the mail, I received this reading, and it transformed my life. And it was all about what I had done in previous lifetimes and how it relates to what I came to do now. And in that reading, they asked me to start toning on, so I received it on September 21st or September 1st, and they asked me on the equinox to start toning the sound of ah every day. And they told me that I had done this in previous lifetimes and to awaken this again. And this reading was so profound in what it said that I could accomplish if I was doing that For 2 years, I toned every day. I probably missed 7 days in 2 years. And so I started for 3 months of ah, as I was asked to do, and then it turned to oh, and then it kept evolving. And I would just go into meditation and I would rise myself above the earth and look down to the earth for any dark spots. And I would just offer that toning to those dark spots and just envisioning good things happening. And that eventually evolved to I started singing. I just started making up songs and they would move me to tears. And I remembered as a little girl, I would make up songs. And I think this is something innate within us. And I had read that when we sing and put words to song, we're actually magnifying the impact of what that's doing. And then it started to evolve into what I was guided to call songs of light. And so it's toning, but it's just intuitive toning. So I'll just give a little sample here right now of what that's like. So it's very simple. And then after a while, it evolved into light language. But in the beginning, I was offering sound circles with these songs of light and inviting people to gather together. And we would spend an hour doing Tibetan seed syllables, which are very simple, wahe, something like that. And then I would invite people to just intuitively start making these sounds together. And we would put someone in the center of the circle, ask them to state their intention for what they wanted to receive. And we would all just freely tone. And it was difficult for people in the beginning. A lot of people were really shy. But once the circle started going, it just becomes this harmonic resonance. And you don't even tell your voice from everyone else's. And I used to tell people to just close their eyes so nobody could see them and then they'd feel better about what they were doing. And so from that, then the light language started probably in 2013, which sounds a bit like speaking in tongues. I think it can sound a bit weird to people, but actually, what I'm getting about the light language is that this is going back to an ancient language that we had on this earth. And there was a time I live near Salt Spring Island, and I was on Salt Spring Island with a friend, and we were standing looking out over this bay, and I started offering light language to the land. And he also speaks light language, and he tuned in, and we just spent time offering this to the land. And at the end, I said, okay, let's go. And he was just standing there deeply moved because the land was telling him that it was so grateful to receive this sound because it had been so long since it had been nurtured with these tones. And one powerful thing about light language is our conscious mind can't understand it. So we can't connect with it in a conscious way. And so it can go in and do its work because we can't interfere with it in a sense. It's a very high frequency. It vibrates with ourselves, same as the tones. They vibrate ourselves and allow ourselves to release what no longer serves us. So it's vibrational medicine in that way. And there's actually research. I also do a Power of Sound workshop. And this was back in the 80s. I don't know if we could even access this information anymore because the links that I received this from are no longer up. But they were doing research and they found they took women with breast cancer, both of them scheduled for surgery. They toned 3 hours a day, which is quite a lot of toning. And one of them completely healed herself and didn't have surgery. And the other one had surgery and it was just the size of a pea. And they found of all the sound instruments that they used in this study, it was the human voice. Cancer cells in a petri dish could not hold their form in the presence of the human voice. So that's pretty powerful. And this is a beautiful gift that we all have.
No, that's really interesting that you said that. I wrote down the power of healing with sound. And, we talk about how, math is like the universal language, but sound is the universal language on so many levels, on so many planes. We hear stories, and we hear things about, drumming circles, or, singing bowl circles, and these kinds of things. And it is those vibrations that help with that healing. We talk about singing just to our plants, and it helps our plants grow, because they can connect with that vibration, and that love that you're putting out there. So important is the sound, and that's really connected to a lot of the language that we use too, and how we speak and what we're speaking. Can you go a little bit deeper into light language? I was kind of curious. That was one of my questions, was about, because I grew up Pentecostal, going to church, and the tongues were all over the map. And as a child, you're hearing some of these things, and you don't know what you're listening to. Can you go into a little bit of of an explanation of the differences of the two? And is there a different frequency with the light language compared to someone that is in that kind of state?
Mhm. I'm not really that familiar with speaking in tongues as such. I think it would depend on the individual who's receiving what is coming through. With light language, I've noticed there's more and more people on YouTube now who are bringing through light language, and everybody seems to have their own dialect. And I do believe it's related to the planetary systems that we came from, and also the many incarnations we've had on Earth, what our dialect is. And I invite people to just tune into it and just allow themselves to feel it. Let your mind, we're so taught to be fearful in this world. There's so much that brings up fear for us, that anything that is different can automatically put us into fear. And so I invite people to just allow themselves to just feel it and really see how it feels for them, and let that resonate. But even with myself, when I'm working with one person with light language, they can ask one question and it'll have one dialect, and another question will actually have another dialect. So I know for myself that the light language is coming through in a way that's meeting whatever it is that that person needs in that moment. So even for me, I'm able to get an overtone of what's coming through. I don't get a literal translation, but I'm able to get a sense and an overview of what's coming through. But obviously it's moving through me to meet the person who's in front of me. And that's why it changes when it's different people there. So, you know, as far as people speaking in tongues, they do seem to be in a trance state and allowing that to come through. I'm a little bit personally hesitant of people going into a trance state, like even trance channels, because then you're not there to really be aware of the energy that's moving through you. So that's a hesitation that I have in that kind of thing.
That's excellent. Can we just dive a little bit deeper into that channeling aspect there? Because we've had some channels on where they do going pretty deep, and they allow the channel to come or be the channel, and then the entity or whoever it is comes through and then speaks through them, and we see different mannerisms, we hear a different tone of voice. Really, really fascinating stuff. Can you maybe explain how you approach it with this light language, and then the differences of someone going in that further deep?
Mm-hmm. Um, I know, there's someone here that I know who assists a woman who goes into trance channel, and she has people around her to assist her and kind of oversee what's happening, I guess you could say. For me, I would say again, for the people who are on the receiving end, is to really just feel in and make sure it feels right for you. For me, as a conscious channel, with the light language, it's really like I just have the intention. And, in my own channeling, there have been times when I felt like, this doesn't feel quite right. And I will check in and say, are you of the light in service to humanity and in service to love? And sometimes whatever that was, it will just go away when I ask that question. So we do need to be aware, that we are being a pure channel in that moment, and um, connected with the highest frequency. And that's always my intention. Even with mediumship, people are connecting with beings on the other side, but they may not be highly evolved beings. And so myself, I'm always very clear that I'm choosing to connect with highly evolved beings who have service to the light and service to humanity. So
No, excellent, excellent. What sorts of kind of protection practices can one put into place prior to engaging in channeling and kind of letting that energy flow?
I think this shifts and changes as we evolve as individuals. So in the beginning, for me, I would always call upon the archangels that I connect to, Archangel Michael being one. And I call upon my higher self and my guides and highly evolved beings of light who are service to humanity. So that's my way of protecting. I call them in to be with me and to guard, guide, and protect me. And I feel that we get to a point where we are at a higher frequency, um, and we can know where we are. I have good days and I have off days. And on off days, I might be a little bit more careful about making sure that that is there. And at the same time, I feel we move into a state where we are so self-empowered and so in connection with the source frequency within us that we know that we're in that state. And it's almost like asking for protection is inviting an old paradigm in. But there's many levels to that, right? So it requires self-awareness to know where you are in that. And there's no judgment, of course, for wherever we are in that. It's not a hierarchy at all.
Absolutely, the journey is far and wide, and we are all on it. And it's all a matter of a personal journey as well. We are all healing. We all have the wounds. We all have the trauma, and I think obviously sound therapy and the things that you've been working on are so important in having a option for people if that resonates with them to say, hey, I'm going to try this out. That's what it's really all about, is trying, like you kind of were saying earlier, everyone is going to be able to heal in their own way, and some things are going to work for others and some won't, and that's okay because we are on our own journey. And I think we look at other people and we have a tendency to look at other people's journeys and get caught up in their transitions or in their accomplishments, and it really starts from in here and healing these kinds of things. Michelle, you have your hand up. You have to unmute yourself.
Oh, is it time for questions already or not?
You can jump right in here with a question if you wish.
Okay, I have actually 4 questions that I want to put in one question. Is there a different or special tone related to our chakras or organs? Or even when we are tree hugging? I'm a tree hugger. Can we use some tones special tones to talk to the tree, and which tone it is actually?
I would really invite you to just intuitively let that flow through, because even with our chakras, people who read chakras, your chakras are going to look different from one day to the next because of what you're experiencing in that day. And I feel that when we just respond in the moment, we're actually meeting what that moment is. And it's the same with the tree. So when the people would come to my sound circles and they had never used sound before, in the beginning, I would say, okay, let's just be really silly and ridiculous. And we would just make these stupid sounds like, and just get used to the feeling silly because you're making sound, because for many of us, it's just not something we've done.
Yeah.
And once you get used to that and get more familiar with it, you can start just by using the tone O or ah or any of the vowels. And then just feel into your body and see if it really wants to change and be something different. And there are no rules. When we just learn to trust and just open our mouth and let it flow through, it really is right for that day. And I would also like to share, I've done this before in a workshop when we were doing sound together, and the group was toning together, and one person after we stopped said, wow, that really didn't sound very good. So she was judging it. She felt like it needed to sound good and all be harmonious. And my response was, well, good, because if it doesn't sound good, it's probably meeting something within us that is out of balance, out of harmony. And so the sound is meeting what's there, and that's what sound tends to do, is meet what's there, dissolve that, and then anchor in something that's more pure and of a higher essence, and that harmony comes about through that process. So that would be my thoughts, is to just really play with it and just feel into it. And yay for another tree hugger, and I love your background.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
you're
Thank you,
welcome.
Jane, and thank you, Michelle, for that question. Louise, you have an interesting question.
Um, yes. Hi, Jane. So
Hi.
nice. So nice of you to come here and talk about this. Um, I always, we read and we learn and we have special code. Personal code will open up our ability, something like that.
Mm.
And what I need to know is actually, is there some special sound? Let's say, doesn't matter. I make a sound and it will open up my personal code to help me to get more evaluate and get more back to my ability. I
Mm.
had some a few years ago. It's like if it's sleeping a little and it's coming up very slowly.
Mm.
So, in my belief, I think the sound should be able to help me.
Right. So are you asking if you can find a tone, or are you asking me if there's a tone that would come through?
Well, I have to practice, let's say, any kind of tone.
Uh-huh.
And one day it will happen. Just
Ah.
let's say, like an experience I had.
Mhm.
One day I was with a special session with a group. We've been meditate. And for the exercise, they just make the sound with that Tibet balls.
Yeah.
And that sounds actually just open up something in me.
Mhm. Mhm.
And we did an exercise of, they call that phosphane. You know what it is?
No.
No? Okay. So you check a light for a minute, you close the light, and you look a person, and you can see the color of the chakra or sometime more.
Okay.
And when that sound came to me, I saw the chakra of
Mm.
earth chakra. The person was sitting down in front of me. It was gold and it was as big.
Mm.
So
Beautiful.
that means it's opened up one of my chakra,
Uh-huh. Okay.
that special sound. So that's when I thought different sounds give you different access.
Mhm. First of all, when you started talking about sound, I got a huge body shudder. So I know that's really something for you. It's an ability that you have. And I do believe that you using this well begin to open these things up for you. Um, I'm getting to let it be more free. So have less mental concept about what it all means and what
Okay.
it's connecting to, and just let all of that happen. In many ways, we don't need to know all the particulars of what's happening. And in some ways, wanting to know the particulars can kind of hold us up from the freedom that just wants to flow through us and shift and change everything and allow that space to move. So I would say, from what I'm getting for you, is to just start playing with sound. And there's going to be many tones that are going to come for you. I feel like they're going to move through your entire body, and that you're going to start just offering them out into the world. I feel like it's really an important piece for you and your evolution at this time is to be using sound. Yeah.
Thank you, Jane.
Yeah. Thanks for your question.
You're welcome.
That's a nice smile from Louise there. You did good there. I like that. Excellent. Jane, we've been talking about some channeling. We've been talking about some amazing light language. Can you bring us to when you came to the freedom release technique?
So that started in 2013 after I had done this solid year of healing, like literally 3 times a week with this person. And so I was offering a workshop, and in this workshop I was doing access consciousness, and I wasn't formally trained. I had learned online, just watching videos, and started using it. And I could feel the clearings happening. I could feel it in the room that I was in, and I could feel it in my body. And so I was using that in this workshop, because the workshop was to help people discover where their limitations come from and where their beliefs come from. And then we were clearing them. And so I was up front and I said in the workshop, I'm not formally trained in this, but I know that this is working. And after the workshop, someone said to me, why don't you just create your own healing technique? And I thought, wow, what a brilliant question. And so I went into meditation a couple of days later. And in this powerful Ascended Master reading, I was actually told, you are Hermes, you are Thoth. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to go in and connect with Hermes. So I go into meditation and it's like, hey, Hermes, I want to create a new healing modality. And I heard the words, may all be revealed. And I was waiting for more to come and nothing came. So I thought, well, maybe in the next few days, I'll get more insight on that. And I didn't. And so I had no idea what to do with that. So about a week later, I went back into meditation with Hermes and said, I need more information. I need to know what to do with this. And I just got, when someone is presenting to you, just say, may all be revealed. So I thought, okay. So the next time I had a client and they were telling me what they wanted to work through, I just went quiet and said, okay, may all be revealed. And way back in the distance, I could just see some information coming into form. And so I just started talking. And the more I talked, the closer it got. And I realized I was giving information about the source of where this belief system was created. Sometimes it's a childhood, sometimes it's a past life. So I started talking about that. And then I knew I wanted to create a clearing technique. So I just intentionally cleared it. So I said, all of that, we're just going to clear it. And then I knew when you clear something, you're creating a vacuum and a void wants to be filled. So I knew we needed to fill it with something beneficial. So I just called for a more beneficial event in that moment in time to replace what we had just cleared. And after a while, when I'd been doing this for a while, at one point I was working with someone and I said to my guides, I call it the reveal, the release, and the restore. And I said, how does the restore come to me so quickly? And they said, you're pulling on what would have been another potential timeline in that moment in time that would have this more beneficial outcome. So I was really happy with that because I knew I wasn't just making up something for people. I was pulling from their own potentials that would have been something more positive. And so what happens when we do this, it's all work on the etheric level. And, I like to say imagination is really more real than what we think this world is. People think, well, it's just imagination. It's making a difference in your cellular structure. So this freedom release technique is actually changing your cellular structure. When we clear this way and replace it with something else, it's as if you're living in this now moment without that past negative event. So it's like from that time until now, you've been living the more positive event, and our external world is a reflection of our beliefs. So what we believe, we create in the world. And so when that belief shifts, suddenly the outside world shifts. One powerful example of this, all my life, I felt like the black sheep in my family, which I wouldn't doubt many people on this call are the same. And I realized at one point, if I think I'm different than my family, they have to show me how I'm different, because they have to show me my belief. So I cleared my belief that I don't belong in my family, that I'm so different. And I realized, okay, in that clearing, I realized I can be different and still be accepted. So that was a big piece. And the next time I went to visit my mother, she responded to me so differently. I felt like she loved me for the first time in my life. That was probably 15, 20 years ago. So it was quite powerful. So that's how this works. When we clear those belief systems, and we can do this in the state of the etheric, what seems like the imagination, we are actually shifting this now moment, and then life shows up differently. So I developed this in 2013, and immediately almost every person came back for a repeat session because they felt the effects of what was happening. And at one point I thought, am I supposed to keep going with this because I'm a creator and I'm actually not meant to stay with something for too long because it will actually hold me back? And I was feeling that with this, and I said, I don't know if it's supposed to live on or if it's just supposed to go. And one woman who had booked 10 sessions, after 7 sessions, said, I feel like I'm all done and I want to learn how to do this. And I started to cry because I knew then that it was supposed to live on. And yeah, that was my signal.
That's absolutely amazing. There's so much to unpack there. The power of thought, just getting up and putting yourself in that kind of state of love and allowance, and just positive self-worth. So hard when our cells are just filled with trauma, and trauma that isn't maybe even apparent to us on a daily basis. And you're absolutely right. It's definitely rooted in some of these belief, but identities. And I know we've talked about some of the hard times of, like, we can accept a lot of the information that's kind of coming at us right now. But then there's information that really drives home inside of us. And that information is like, it's almost like, oh, show my wounds. And now I need to protect because I'm not ready. And I'm not ready to move on. I'm not ready to shift. So we hold on to those beliefs. We hold on to that identity because we feel that that's who we are. And letting that go in enjoying that healing process, I think can be so difficult, because it is truly letting go of what we thought or who we thought we were, and where we belong, and where we fit into this world. That gets all thrown out the window, and we're presented with some wonderful new opportunities. But again, it comes back to some of the earlier talk of going down this path and not knowing what's around the bend, but being able to walk in your authenticity, walk in your truth, because then you are on the right path. You are healing from the inside out, changing the world around you. I don't know how, like, when you wake up, I'm sure everyone can hear would agree. It's almost like you have like this thing, and you wake up and you see things differently. You feel things differently. You're watching a show, or you're listening to music, and you're hearing it differently. You're seeing the messages differently. It all starts with healing those cells, healing that trauma inside, not trying to change the world physically outside, but changing yourself first, and embodying that change that you want to see outwardly. Cindy, you have your hand up.
So I was just going with what I'm feeling from the collective energy. I'm feeling that there's a lot of Stockholm Syndrome going on right now and a lot of trauma bonding with what's going on with COVID-19. Just want to know your thoughts on that.
Can you explain to me what you mean by Stockholm Syndrome?
Stock, Stockholm Syndrome it was basically well known in 1973, where bank robbers held these people hostages, and they did mean things to them, but then they would use like a mental basically they would be nice to them and then they would be not nice to them. So they had that fear of what they thought they were going to be killed. But at the time when they were going to be released, they ended up loving their people that were doing this damage to them. A lot of people who well, any children that have gone through this who have been kidnapped, and also different types of people have undergone this. And like I feel like the programming that's going on right now is basically putting people in that position. Like as a healer, I'm thinking, what is the best, like how would you approach this? Because I know we have the new moon coming up, and I'm doing some new moon intentions, and I wanted to help release people from this trauma bonding, because you have trauma bonding and you also have Stockholm Syndrome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like that's a really delicate thing. You know, this is not like regular healing. We all have our own personal trauma. Um, this trauma bonding piece is like, I think it takes a lot of intelligence and a lot of education in knowing the right way to work through this. And, you know, to be honest, I'm not sure that I can give you an educated response to that. I could connect in with the guides and see what they have to say, but I wouldn't want to offer something from a place of not really having the full awareness of what I'm sharing. It reminds me, as you're talking about it, of also like emotional abuse in relationships where people don't leave the relationships, and you know, people on the outside don't understand at all, but it's like you're for one thing, you don't have your sovereignty anymore. Your sovereignty belongs to someone else, so you don't even know who you are anymore, really. And you know, in my own childhood, I remember going to a homeopath. This was actually after I was married, but I grew up in an abusive alcoholic home that was quite damaging. And I remember going to a homeopath, and he was asking me things about myself. And I said to him, well, my husband would say I'm this, this, and this. And he said to me, I don't want to know what your husband would say. I want to know what you would say. I was so lost at that point, having grown up in that kind of environment, that I had given myself away to him. I wasn't even in my being making my own choices and decisions. And the way I healed through that was those many, many, many years of healing and doing my own internal work, and willing to go deeply. And further to what Philip just said before you came on with your question, this piece about being willing to go in and look. I lived most of my life in a safe state of dissociation. That's why Roshana, the first time I channeled was from Roshana. I realized she's my higher self. And I legally changed my name to Roshana. And I realized all these years I've been living not fully anchored here on earth. And it was only when I came to Vancouver Island, this land just pulled me in and sucked me in and turned me to mush. Within a month after I'd been here, literally, like I was falling apart. Nobody showed up as clients because I needed the space to just do what I was doing. And so I had to get really grounded. And then there's the deep, deep fear of going in and looking at your emotions. And thankfully, I had a friend who would say to me, Jane, you're doing it again. You're rising above your emotions. You're not going right in and looking. And so finally, I got the courage to do that. And the first time I went in really deep, I was saying, okay, I'm going to go, I'm going to look. And then I just got to go in the tub. So I poured a bath, got in the tub, and I was doing the same breath I used to birth my children. What I was seeing was so terrifying. And it was that first time through. It's never been like that since. It was just that first time of facing that fear. So there's so much there in what you're talking about. Good for you for doing that work and supporting.
Well, I'm just feeling it from the collective, like all of people, they're being so much are programmed from the TV, and this is what the mental abuse is, what they've put upon everyone, where they're pushing towards going because they are so much in fear. So when you have that much fear, they're going to love whatever.
Sorry, I'm cutting you off. We have to disengage from all of that. We
Oh,
can't find our way out while we're in it.
oh, I don't watch the news, but what I'm saying is I as an empath as well too, I feel the emotions of people and I'm feeling that and like I'm trying to I just wanted to know your thoughts on that if you are feeling anything from the collective or no.
I was in February. February was really dense. February was really challenging. I'm finding March a bit lighter. Are you?
No, March Madness is going on right now.
Yeah. It's hard to be in that, because it is a very real thing when we're feeling it from the collective. And I do my best to put myself in activities that I know are good for me and help to lift me up, whether it's something creative or something like that. Yeah. How do you handle it?
I'm good. I do a lot of light language healing. I do a lot of word work as well too. So I'm quite busy doing that during the day. And then at night I'm traveling. So
Right. Yeah.
yeah, so yeah. But I'm just feeling the emotions and I know that we have the new moon coming up on the 13th. So I'm just getting my intentions ready to what I can help to really for everyone for the collective.
Nice. Yeah. Thanks
Thank
for
you. Thank you, Cindy, for that. And thank you, Jane, for that wonderful answer. I think it really kind of sums up, I think, which is something really easy, but something really, really hard is to just be kind to ourselves in that process and doing things that make us feel good and puts us in that bliss, whether it's, I heard woodworking, I play a little music or anything like that, where it really puts us in that kind of state of love, of just allowing that flow to happen. And I think if we just do some things every single day to be kind to ourselves, that trauma of low self-worth, I think, is threaded through a lot of souls, and just doing something that makes us feel good is so important in that healing process. Michelle, you have a question.
My question is there a special tone that we all can use, let us say, with connecting consciousness with all the members? We go to a place, wherever we are, and is there a special tone that we can use for Mother Earth to bring her back in a certain because I think when Mother Earth is healed, or we can heal her at a certain frequency, that it heals us back on that it comes back to us in a certain on a certain point. And if we can do that, and if there is a tone, which day, or is that with full moon, or half the crescent moon, or in what certain time? Because a world meditation has a huge impact on Mother Earth. I know that. But when you bring sound in my eyes or in my feeling, now I have goosebumps. Sorry. It can bring more vibration than even a meditation. It's my thought. Just
Yes, I believe so, because the sound is then putting another frequency in, right? So there's the frequency of our, our state of being in the meditation, but then the sound is putting another frequency in there. And and even empowering what we're doing, because as we speak, that's our will being expressed. So what I'm getting as you're asking that is IE. So for a tone like I, that would be very good for the earth. And I feel that vibrating in my heart actually as I'm doing it. I'm not getting really any specific time. And you know, I want to show this right now because it feels appropriate. So this is a glyph.
Oh, wow.
This is a light language glyph. It's called Opolaka, and it's the resolution of time. And is this okay, Phil, if I just go in and read what came through with this?
Absolutely. This is what it's
Okay.
all about.
Feels appropriate right now. So I'll just share with you what came through when this glyph came through. Opolaka, the resolution of time, because this relates to your question about when is the right time. Time is an enigma that needs to be resolved as we move into higher dimensions. When we expect time to remain linear, we block the new potentials that are ready to come in. The use of this symbol will allow the understanding of time to shift and change and resolve itself into an upgraded level of function. And so then I asked, what is an upgraded level of function? And I got, it is to say that things can happen out of a timeline. Time will shift and change. You may see something in your field of vision 1 second and it's gone the next. That is the timeline changing. Using this symbol helps integrate the now format of time into the mind so that you are not confused as this happens, and you can allow time to shift as humans shift, and the energy on your planet increases in vibration. So I just felt called to bring that through in relation to when is the right time, because I feel like this is a concept that it's really time for us to let go of time being so linear and be more in the moment. That's what it's about, is this thing about being in the now moment. So when it feels right in the now moment to offer those tones to the earth, when you feel called, and it's not to say that we can't do it in those other times, but this is what's coming through me in my work.
Thank you.
Amazing. And what really resonates with me is, being in that moment, taking that second just to breathe and just to put yourself in that moment. And so you can listen and you can hear what you need to be working on, and listening to that higher self, I think is so important as we move on in this journey that we're all on. It is scary. It is, very uncomfortable, but we definitely have to be comfortable with the uncomfortable during this time of healing and of exploration. There's so much out there. How do we discern from the news that we hear, the voices from friends and family, to keep that those traumas, to keep those programs kind of going? What are some simple things, Jane, that maybe you can share for maybe all of us to be practicing on our own time?
To just sort of stay in that place of stillness and navigate this world that we're in right now. Yeah, for me, I think it's really important for us to find our own internal guidance, because there is so much information out there, so much misinformation out there. It's really hard to know what to believe anymore. And so I think it's really important for us to always just check in, like you just said, about checking in with our own heart and really just asking, does this resonate with me? Does this feel like it matches my truth? And come back as much as we can to knowing who we are. So just take time every day. I just started, there's an app I downloaded that's of the Mayan calendar to start nature's calendar. And it has a writing every day. And I sit down every morning and I just reflect on what that is. And the more we take time to reflect, we're so used to being busy that it's hard to even get to know who we are in that state. And we think that time reflecting is being lazy, or we're just programmed these days to think we should be doing something. And I feel like it's really important to just have that time for stillness and really get to know who we are and disengage as much as we need to. If it's becoming overwhelming, disengage as much as you need to just come back to yourself and that peace and truth and love that's within each one of us.
Absolutely. Quick question from the chat. Someone would like to know, what is the name of the light language glyph that you just shared again?
It's called Opolaka. I have put it on a YouTube video. If you go to my website, I can get it up on the website. I have shared it before, or if you want to copy it, I could hold it up and people can even copy it. But
Sure. Why don't you hold it up, and if people want to, if they want to draw it down, that would be great. I like it.
so you start at the top of the squiggly and go to the bottom. And then the line starts at the bottom and goes up. And then the spiral starts at the line and goes out. And the dot is the last piece. Everybody got it? Okay.
I got thumbs up. Excellent.
Okay.
We have an interesting question in an interesting share. Roland would like to share something with you and maybe get your take and your impressions, your thoughts, your feelings about what we are taking a look at.
Okay.
Roland, you are on deck.
Yeah, hello.
Hi, Roland.
That's what you see in the background, those icons.
Light codes, you said?
Yes, just a second, I share the screen.
Okay.
Since 5 years, when I take pictures from the moon,
Oh.
there I have that one now here. Normally, it's just a plain simple picture from the moon. When I watch a video in the background, those icons show up.
Interesting.
Hieroglyphs, or what you call them. You can
Right.
zoom in.
Ah.
It happens when I take pictures from the sun.
Ah, really?
And I cannot save or print them, so I have to take a second picture from the with the camera from the screen. New icons show up.
Wow.
Also, then later what I found out when I take videos or looked at a video from the swallow, some kind of aura or energy field shows up.
Holy. There you
And the same is with lots of my bear clip movies, the same thing.
Okay, that's so interesting.
The other one here with the moon, when I take from the moon video clip, that was a little bit cloudy. Normally I have a nice round circle, but with the clouds, they made an odd shape. So those are moving icons.
Right, yeah.
I have an explanation from it. I did a channeling, energies from the 9th and 10th dimension. About technical stuff, info and so, but if you have a different view or what?
Yeah, let me connect in with the guides.
Some people say it could be written like language too.
Yeah, I'm going to bring in my guides and see what they say. Indeed, dear one, you have discovered something here, have you not? You are discovering electrons and how they move in all life. So as you know, in space, there are many electrons moving and taking form, and that these little electrons will, when consciousness connects with them, create form. And as you know, your planets and moons, and of course, the life upon Earth, all have a sense of consciousness. And this consciousness is also impacted by other intelligence, we could say, that is impacting the planets and moons in your solar system. So it's not just the pure frequency of, for example, the moon or the sun, because there are other frequencies that are impacting that as well, and some of it coming from other forms of consciousness. So you are seeing the impact of these energy frequencies of consciousness and the life forms themselves intermingling and playing. That's why the circle may not remain a circle as it would if a pure planet or moon was giving off that frequency. When other interference comes in, that it changes that line that you're seeing. So in a sense, you are seeing life in its purest form. For example, the bear, you could see that the lines were moving down through the energy of the bear in a fashion which you might expect from the shape of that being. Whereas with the moon and the sun, where it changes, it's because there are other things that are impacting there that are creating some interference.
Yes, thank you. With other channeling, they say it's about the technical stuff with free energy, anti-gravity, space flight. I tried hypnosis 5 years ago too, didn't work. And that woman put it on her blog. Somebody could read certain words. Somebody said it's just for me to meditate on. So one day it will make click and I will know what it means.
Yes.
Thank you.
It's there for a reason for you, of course, Roland.
I can email you some pictures and so you can watch it maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. You have my email.
Thank you, Roland. It's always good to see those. And thank you, Jane, for sharing with us about that as well. We have Jacqueline with her hand up.
You know that well, I don't know how to call it. It's this, what you said was opalaka. A lot of these things come in languages. I've heard some of them from Hawaii, for instance. You know, they have all kinds. What language is this? Because it certainly isn't English or any other language I know.
Yeah, I don't know what language it is. It comes through the same way the light language comes through. So it just intuitively comes through and it shifts all the time. And I'm inclined not to try to connect my mind with it too much and, get particulars about it. I let it flow through. I can understand why people ask questions, because they will want to know if it's genuine or authentic. For me, I can tell that by how I feel when it's coming through. It's very important for me that it's genuine and, that I'm not leading people astray. That's why it took me so long to offer my channeling out there. But I don't really ask for what language it is or what planetary system it comes from. I feel like it distracts me from just the flow of what wants to come through. Do you do this yourself? Do you?
Well, no, I don't. This is quite new to me, and I've read about it, and I don't know if you're familiar with the book This Is Your Brain on Music. So I'm not sure whether this is coming from my brain or whether it's coming from the source that you're talking about, because if I start going around, I mean, I'm totally new to this, and if I just go around starting to make noises, how do I know I'm not just being silly and that it's just something that's produced out of my vocal cords, and that it's not? How do I know when it's something that actually comes from another sphere? Right. I don't know if I've said that right.
Yes, I understand. Yeah. I would say in the beginning, just let yourself be silly, because we just need to get the flow going. And then in time, you will know just because of how you feel. And if you start offering it to others, then others will feel things with it as well. So in the beginning, I just started letting it flow through, and I would feel emotion. Like I said, when I started singing those songs at the moment, often I feel so much love when I'm channeling or doing this kind of work that I know it's not just me, it's coming from something else. I think the beginning is to just let it be silly, let it be whatever it is, so that you just get used to letting it come through and have the intention that you're bringing through higher source wisdom through your voice, even though it's in something that you may not logically understand or be able to linearly put words to it, but that you will recognize when it's coming and flowing through.
Thank you.
Yeah, play with it. Play is a big piece of it, you know?
Okay.
Yeah, thanks for that question.
Thank you, Jane, and thank you, Jacqueline, for that question. That really brings up that, you know, we're coming back to that being silly, being vulnerable. It is that vibration, that frequency that helps raise the vibration, is just letting ourselves be that young child in within us. It's been so dormant. The layers of adulting in this world have piled on us, and when we put ourselves out there like that, it does feel weird because we haven't been used to it. And so I think it's so important just to let ourselves be silly and create a space that maybe we can start by ourselves, but then, like you're saying, Jane, there is power in that group. So getting together and being silly with others, having fun with these kinds of practices and techniques, I think will go a long way to getting a better understanding. And then when we are doing it more, we're able to listen and hear in a clear mind what is being shown to us. Louise, and then Jacqueline.
Okay, Jen, I have a question first and
Mhm.
another thing to say. Um, do you know Tom Kenyon?
Mhm.
Okay, that guy is actually going many places around the globe to put sound to heal.
Mm. Mhm.
The sound is pretty low, and I listened some, and it didn't fit with me.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
it was too low, too loud. I don't know. It didn't fit with me.
Mhm.
But I know he's working with that. So that's about the same thing you're doing.
Mm.
But
Mhm.
you're doing that with person.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. The very low sounds are more grounded. They're a little heavier.
Yeah.
Um, they come through sometimes when they really want to ground something in, or somebody needs to be grounded.
Okay.
Yeah. And
So that's why.
sometimes the tones that we don't like are actually what we need. That's kind of a dichotomy there.
That's what
Um,
my friend says. He says it's because you need it, Louise. I said,
right.
well, it's too
It's
okay. Yeah,
uncomfortable,
it's true. I
right?
need to be ground. That's real.
Yeah, yeah. So it feels uncomfortable because it's shaking up your resonance. It's different than your resonance because maybe that's missing from your field. And so that's why it feels uncomfortable. But if we can just relax and let it in and maybe listen in slow bits, and keep building it.
Yeah,
Um,
okay, I'm gonna have to re-listen what he's saying. And there's another thing we used to practice in Qigong. People doesn't know that, but it is sound in some way. We used to, when you were kids, I know everybody did that. You knock yourself and you say, ah.
right.
And I said, even my daughter, I said, even if you don't like then somebody hear you, do it in your shower because it's the good thing for your gland, for uh, the system immunitaire.
Mm.
I mean, it's good for your anti, I don't know how to say that in English.
Your immune system.
Immune system, yeah.
Immune system, that's it. So I
Right.
think that's something very nice people should do. If you're shy, just do it in your shower.
Right.
But
Yeah.
it's connect with the sound too.
We are so restricted with sound in our society. Even for women, adrenaline is very harmful for women. And just going, just doing that helps to release that adrenaline in women. It's so simple.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very healing to use sound. Even,
Maybe.
women giving childbirth, like imagine having the freedom to make sound when you're giving childbirth, how empowering it is, but we've lost all of that. It's kind of was taken from us. So that's
Okay.
why we feel so self-conscious, even being silly and even beginning to make sounds, Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thanks for
well,
sharing that.
Excellent. Thank you, Louise, and thank you, Jane, for that. Jacqueline, you're up next.
Thanks, Philip. Jane, I just wanted to thank you especially for sharing your story, your vulnerability, and sharing your story and your beautiful gift. The little bit that you toned right at the beginning brought tears to my eyes and felt just amazing. So what a beautiful gift. Thank you. I know there's such power in sound healing. I've felt it a few times, and you're inspiring me more to want to look into this more. But for me, anyways, I've found it really, really powerful. I will just chant Om sometimes, and in fact, sometimes when I'm driving, because it's a time where I don't have to be inhibited. And but I'll find when I chant Om, it'll naturally go up. I'll start low intentionally, but then it'll naturally, like I don't change my voice box or anything to hit a higher note, but it'll keep going higher. Does that sort of make sense? Yeah. And until I get to a point where my voice cracks and
Right. Yeah.
and I can't maintain it. But I found that interesting.
Higher tones we're moving into a higher frequency.
Exactly. Yeah. It's
Lifting
so interesting. Sorry, what's that?
You're lifting yourself up.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I can't believe when, I'd like to do it more often, but boy, when I do just chant, especially like I say, if I'm driving and I'm not inhibited, I can still stay focused on driving, but just chanting, it's incredible how quickly it raises my mood, my vibration, just amazing. And I've heard someone recently refer to say that the throat chakra in particular, that the throat and singing and chanting is really much like a stargate within us, and it's a stargate opening. I thought that was kind of neat. Yeah.
Sure.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah. And I just wanted to thank you. Your voice just went right through me. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Obviously, it's within you, right? It's resonating.
Thanks.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Jacqueline, and thank you, Jane, for that. Before we get to some other questions here, we have Jacqueline, the other Jacqueline, back in queue. So you're up, Jacqueline, and then Raymond.
I just wanted to ask, what would be some recommended readings so that I can learn more about this?
About the toning and using
About
sound.
the toning, yeah.
Yeah. There are two people, Tom Kenyon, that someone else mentioned, and Jonathan Goldman. Jonathan Goldman is probably the better one to start with if you want to learn how to start using it yourself. And he has in his books lots of activities of tones to open the chakras and doing it in front of someone else so that you get to resonate that off of each other. That would be a great place to start.
Thanks very much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Good question, Jacqueline. Thank you. Raymond, you're on deck.
Thank you, Phil. Roshana, that tone that you first did was really, really, I could feel the resonant beam across everywhere. It was pretty powerful. I just have a simple question. I wanted to know when you conduct your Freedom RT, what's involved?
So the person comes to me and shares whatever it is in their life that they feel like they want to change, you know, so maybe it's patterns of always kind of being in the same kind of relationship, or recognizing that there's things from your childhood that are still playing out in your life. And so the person just shows up with whatever it is that they're bringing. And then I just go in and tune in with your energy and use that question, in the matter of blah, 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 may all be revealed. And they show me either something in childhood, past lifetimes. Sometimes it's even things that happen sort of off planet, in almost like in the wars off planet. And so they show me the source of where that is and what it is. And so we clear that. And then we restore by pulling in what would have been another beneficial thing. So let's first say, for example, we went to a past life. You have a lot of trouble with your brother. We went to a past life and I would see you and your brother having this big fight, and maybe your brother even murdered you in that past lifetime. And so we'll clear that event. And what we do in the restore is, it's almost like we stop the event before the stabbing happened, and someone comes running up and sees what's happening and grabs your brother and pulls him off you, and the event never happens. And so in a sense, we're healing it that way. It's like we're rewriting the past. And so then in this lifetime, the relationship will shift and change after that healing happens. And I found recently, like since I started this in 2013, in more recent years, I've found that I think as the veil thins, our past lifetimes are more present in our experience. So people are having difficulties that are related to past lives. I'm seeing more often, I think, because as the veil thins and time becomes more circular, we don't have to look way down the line to feel that. It's kind of right in front of us on the other side of the circle, but that's how it works.
Wow. And one more thing is that, is this conducted over the internet in person?
It's on Zoom. When I did this for years before I had a client in Canada. So originally most of my clients were overseas. So it's always been on Zoom, and it feels like we're right there together. And, you know, for the energy that knows all, it doesn't really make any difference where we are.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for asking.
Thank you, Raymond, for that. Excellent. Before we get to Summer, we have a question from Jennifer W. into the chat. How do you connect to your guides? Is that also through sound?
No, it didn't start through sound. It started through a deep, deep desire. And I had bought a book called Open to Channeling by Sanaya Roman. I think that's how you pronounce her name. And I was reading that book, and then at the end, it got to this point where you're supposed to get out a tape recorder and record yourself after going into these activities. So that's how I got started. And I find a lot of people who have interest in this and who ask questions are claircognizant, which I am, which means that you just know, which also means there's no bells and whistles, there's no running screen across your vision. And so it can be really hard to know that what you're knowing is from a higher source than just little old me. And so it can be harder to really acknowledge and give merit to what you know and trust that it's coming from a higher source. But very often people who are interested in this are claircognizant. And so just come to trust and feel what's in you. I think a great way is to ask questions and then just start writing out the answers in the beginning and go back to it a couple of days later and keep it as a journal, because when you go back, you may find that it's not the language you would typically use. And another really easy, great activity to kind of drop you into that space is 3 minutes of gratitude. I do this in my workshop where I teach it. For 3 minutes, put a timer on. For 3 minutes, I am grateful for the sun. I am grateful for my life. I am grateful to be healthy. You always start with I am grateful, and you just keep going. That drops you into this deep state of awareness. Start writing after that. Have a question already on your paper, and then just start writing. And you may be surprised at what flows through you. Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, so powerful is that frequency of gratitude, isn't it? For those of you that are familiar with meditations, I don't know how many meditations tell you to show gratitude to basically every little step that you're doing. Send gratitude down to the earth. Let Mother Earth feel that gratitude, and and then receive it back, and let yourself feel the gratitude. So powerful is that frequency. Again, pretty tough to do so, I think, sometimes when we are faced with a whole bunch of things that keep us in that trauma. And you were talking earlier about, some of this past life stuff. That's where that cellular memory comes into play with this trauma, where we're holding everything that we have experienced in all of the different lives, in all of the different ways in these incarnations. And so important. Now we are at a time we have chosen to come here to deal with this and to heal and to bring about absolute change for the better. Summer, you had your hand up earlier.
Well, I was just wanting to make sure Jennifer's question was saw and addressed, but also I'll take the opportunity, Jane, to just say thank you, and especially thank you for giving us all permission to go into our child and just sound. I think that's a really important piece, to just be given the permission. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Summer. It's interesting, that piece about permission. Someone said to me once, you don't need permission to do this. I realized I was always looking for permission. So that's a good point that you brought up there. Yeah, give ourselves permission too for whatever we want. Thanks, Summer.
Excellent. So we have about 15, 20 minutes left. Jane, would you like to lead us in a little bit of a closing meditation and something to take with us, and so we can hone in and get a little bit of a taste of some of the healing practices that you do?
Sure, absolutely. So just invite everyone to get comfortable in your chair and bring all of you now into your body. So everywhere where your thoughts were going, all the energy of connecting with the group, bring all of that now into you and really come into your body, feeling the weight, the chair, the seat underneath you, feeling your body getting heavier, and just allowing all of you to relax now. And just recognizing that you are everything you've ever wanted to be. And allow these tones to just touch in on whatever it is you would like to awaken within yourself at this time. And even feel free to make tones yourself if you would like to. And we will allow these tones to touch whatever is in the highest service within you. And see yourself now. Imagine, pretend that you are rising up now, growing taller and taller, your feet still anchored on the earth. As you grow taller and taller, rising up through the roof of where you are, up into the sky, up over your home, over your community, high up over the land, so that you are looking out down upon your life now, and see yourself from this perspective of your expanded self that knows everything. And look out around the world and see everyone else who is now rising up, meeting you there like beacons of light in the night. See us connecting in this place, honoring one another, recognizing ourselves in the other, and then looking back down on your own life again and recognizing that this is who you are, this expanded being that has access to all the information that ever was. And as you stand in this state of expanded awareness, you can ask to receive a gift of knowing, a gift of light, a gift of love. And as you ask, starlight begins to dance down around you, carrying frequency codes that hold your answer. As this anchors in, any resistance is being released to go and dance among the stars. Any fears, any doubt. And as you receive this, you see yourself shrinking down once again, coming down so that you're looking over your home, moving down through the roof, down into this being that is anchored in your chair, anchored in your seat, and bringing all of that wisdom with you as you come to feel yourself in this body, as if you can feel inside your skin, and you realize that it's not just you in this body, the you that you've always known. It's the magnificence and the radiance of the entire universe. That those stars are dancing within you. And that you have brought all this down here to be on the earth. To know you on this earth. And now you look out around you at the beauty of the earth. You imagine perhaps your favorite forest, your favorite beach, your favorite place to be. And you see it with new eyes as if you are seeing it for the first time. And you realize that it is you. And you've lived this folly of feeling disconnected from it. but actually it's all that you are. And it's all that you need to be. You don't need to be special or important or something. You already are everything. And with that, you begin to smile at your folly. You begin to smile at the thought of how you were led astray, how you forgot. You simply forgot. And you know that now you're coming back to this remembering that you already are everything. And you are here pretending to be human, here with other humans who are having a multitude of experiences, and you look at them all as this witness in stillness, witnessing everything around you and seeing the divine perfection in it all as you are anchored solid in your center of knowing who you are and knowing that nothing can destroy the everything that you are. Nothing can throw you off kilter because all that you are will never change. And you take delight in this. And you bring this knowing into your full awareness wheel. Use tones to anchor it within every cell of your body. Hilakshayashkana matwa I ishkana matwa I ashka. Maklay takashkani atnawa ashkani I. Matetwa akashia ashkani atnawa atmatna. Machikwa hatake I ishkana mataka I alawa ana. Mache taka ishkana yotik taka hashnya na a. Machika hu ishkanaha. Machikawa. Machikawa ashkania. Mache taka hashkani ashkana matwa a. Makli taka hashkani atwa a. Makse twa he ikai. Hikai ta o eshkana atmatna. Machikwa ashkane e itakaha. Malaktaka iwa. Ishkana hamana ashkana e. Matektawa a ikna. And so as you sit in the energy of this, just feeling the weight of your body in the chair again, coming back to your awareness of you in the room, you as part of this group, holding that essence while also having the awareness of this present moment. And just begin to move your hands and wiggle your toes. And opening your eyes when you feel ready, bringing this beautiful vibration with you, the vibration of all of us here in this circle in harmony. And just coming back whenever you're ready. Opening your eyes.
Amazing. Thank you so much. We got some thank yous into the chat and some hearts coming out there. So thank you so much, Jane, for that. That was absolutely lovely. Yep, now all the hearts are coming, and yeah, and here they come, the messages. That's amazing. Thank you so much for your time, your energy, your wisdom, your insights, and your sharing, your vulnerability today. It's really what it's all about, and hopefully, some of you and all of us feel empowered, and we can start sharing and being vulnerable as well, and working on our tones. So I would
Being with our tones.
being with ourselves. I would say I challenge everyone this week just to be silly and to let ourselves be in that vibration, try out new things, be kind to yourself. And we are definitely going to be here again, April 8th. At the same time, 8 o'clock, we're going to be having our CC Canada National meeting, and we are going to have a special guest who was with us tonight, Jacqueline Middleton. She's going to be coming on, and we're going to be talking about the dark night of the soul and that journey as well. It's going to be amazing. So I'm looking forward to that. Thank you all for joining us tonight, and I wish you all the best of weeks and weekend. Be kind to yourselves this week. Show some love. So be that change that you want to see from the inside out, and together we can really make some changes and raise the vibration here, not only Canada, but the world. Thank you so much, Jane, for the time. Thank you, everyone, for coming out tonight. Really looking forward to the next time. We'll see you all next time.